As we all know, these days we are just so busy trying to do so much, it almost becomes, Mary Beth, more like a juggling act.
Absolutely. Talking on the phone while reading your email, while watching the pot on the stove bubble over, while trying to help your kid find his homework, yada, yada, yada. Sound familiar? Well, multitasking is a common part of everyday life at home and at work.
But the question is, does it really make you more efficient while still being effective? Well, Terri Murphy is the founder of the Women's Wisdom Network. Terri, always glad to have you back here on Live at 9.
Well, thank you, Alex.
Multitasking, it's something that it seems like we all do these days, but again, the question is, does it make us more efficient? Does it make us more effective? What does it do?
Well, we've learned with technology that there are some hidden costs to multitasking. We've always multitasked. I mean, women especially, you know, you're making dinner, you're watching the stove, you're worrying about your children. But now the technology's here, you notice that people are falling down because they're texting while they're walking, or we've had so many errors where people have used a judgment error because they've been texting or being on the phone, and we've had accidents. So there are some hidden costs. What's interesting is there's appropriate and inappropriate multitasking.
So give us an example of an appropriate multitasking.
Well, for instance, you know, there are things that are familiar that take less time, but you have to understand there's an executive control center in your head that allows for you to prioritize what you should be doing, and you have to make a cognitive decision to change tracks. That takes time. So the question is, if it's appropriate while you're driving, no, because 1/10 of a second can cause an accident.
Okay.
So no, that's, you know, there's an appropriate time. The appropriate time can be, for instance, if you are on hold, and because you're fracturing the attention span, and that's okay. There are times to do that. But think about how powerful it is when you are engaged with someone and you are in the moment. There's a much stronger connection. It's much more on purpose. It's more respectful. On the other hand, if we didn't multitask, we wouldn't get as much as we think we're going to get done.
But when you talk about being in the moment, for instance, if we were sitting here and we're at lunch, maybe waiting for, we're having a conversation, and somebody starts texting, that's not appropriate.
Now we're getting into an area of what's respectful, what isn't. Okay.
But is it also bad because it's not?
Well, it is because your attention is, you're not important, I'm over here. Let's give you an example, for instance, of inappropriate multitasking. You're driving you're monitoring a train, you're flying a plane. When you fly a plane, for instance, your attention is in several places because you're listening, and not that I fly, but I happen to know someone that does. And if something goes wrong in your focused here, you still have to pay attention to what's happening here, because that could be another issue. However, in regular life, if you multitask appropriately so that you are not using a tremendous amount of time, then you're getting more things done. You feel a sense of accomplishment, not burnout, because you're physically using energy to do this.
So I guess, Terri, my question to you is, when do I know I'm maybe taking the multitasking a bit overboard, or doing it inappropriately? Do I decide myself? Do I wait for Mary Beth to say, hey, turn it down a little bit?
It's fairly personal. There's what we call excessive multitasking. People that can't ever get anything done, they're just doing 50,000 things at the same time. They feel fractured. Eventually it leads to burnout. The idea is to cut back only 20%. If you cut back 20%, there's a study done by the American Psychological Association that suggests you will save 6 weeks of time, just 5.9.
Wow.
Seriously, 5.9-ish weeks of time
by cutting back
20%.
So it sounds like if you have an important task, like booking Live at 9, when we're booking Live at 9, we should just focus on that for a set amount of time, and we'll get so much more done?
Well, let me help you with this. I'm doing some work with a group that has Go Training, and they have a whole section on what's appropriate multitasking. And they suggest it's a homeostasis issue to stay focused on one thing.
With your brain.
With your brain. And when you start fracturing, that's where it starts looking for balance. And they suggest a 96-minute focus. And you have an anchor, like a green stone or a special cup, when you feel yourself waning. Imagine if you
you touch it and it brings you back?
Or you just look at it and it says, I need to be in the moment, I need to
So do you silence the phone if, again, in the example, we're booking Live at 9, we don't talk about anything else we have going on, we don't answer the phone unless it's a Live at 9 call?
That would help you get more done. Because what if you could get something completed? You'd have a better sense of self, you would have more accountable accomplishment, And you would do things probably in a higher manner, in a more productive manner.
So we silence the phone. Can we also silence the boss? Because he or she, Terry, may be telling us to also do this, do that, do this, do that.
Yeah,
remember that the boss still wants you to have accountability to do your best.
Right.
As a parent, if your child comes up to you, which I know you've had this issue, or if you've got a husband, and they come up to you and you know you have to give that person or that your fullest attention.
They have their agenda.
They have
so
their
you can't
agenda.
always say.
You can't always say no. But in the sense of doing our best, checkouts, cutting back only 20%.
96 minutes. I think that would be good. We could still do multiple things. Just do 96 minutes here, 96 minutes there, 96 minutes on your 14 other things, and you're done with a day, right?
Yeah.
If you could do that.
And we know how to track down Terry, don't we?
Yes, so spend 96 minutes today on womenswisdomnetwork.com, because not only will you get a lot of good advice on multitasking, but every other subject. What are you doing? Inappropriate, inappropriate.
Texting you right now.
We'll be right back.